Hey there everyone, this is Zaire.
And this is Lit.
And we're back with Danganronpa If. Feels like it's been a while. Alright, well, why don't we just start off roughly around where we left off last time. As if nothing ever happened.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all! Stupid sexy Flanders.
I know. Well, we had a pretty epic exit from the last battle.
Yeah, getting carted off on a silver horse.
A very loud silver horse.
With a very loud rider. Hifumi and Chihiro were cautiously peeking from behind the door leading to the dorms, while Aoi and Taka kept watch from inside the building. After passing them by, Mondo slowed down the motorcycle as he reached the front of the cafeteria and turned into a complete stop. The other students looked warily at Mukuro. That just jumped me right ahead, so let's get back. But among these students, Mukuro noticed two people who weren't regarding her with suspicion. One was Kyoko, who seemed to be studying the situation.
As usual.
The other one was a skinny boy who was leaning against Kyoko's shoulder.
Makoto?
Mukuro's lips began to tremble as she sat on the back of the motorcycle. Ignoring the pain through his body, Makoto smiled at Mukuro and repeated what he said to her earlier. I'm glad you're safe, Mukuro. Unfortunately, Mukuro was unable to realize her hope of filling her little sister with despair. Instead, she had successfully planted the seeds of hope into her fellow students. Makoto had barely regained consciousness, while Mukuro was fighting the horde of Monokumas at the main entrance. When he woke up, he did something extremely simple. He talked about his memories. Chapter end. The rider of this motorcycle was none other than Mondo Owada. Mukuro and Monokuma were both visibly shocked by this turn of events.
Ooh.
Instead of addressing them, Mondo accelerated the motorcycle he stole from Monokuma directly toward Mukuro. Just before his front tire touched Mukuro, did we just go through this?
Yeah.
I remember getting hung up over this. Okay, well, we'll roll with it.
Is he doing it again, or...?
I should be at the most recent part.
Okay. We'll find out.
Just before his front tire touched Mukuro, he popped a reverse wheelie and turned the entire motorcycle around. The back wheel swept over Mukuro's back, knocking away all the Monokumas that were hitting her.
We're back at it.
Maybe we're just, it's rewinding time and we're gonna go through from another perspective.
Okay.
Or maybe we've just bugged it out. If we come to this point a third time, then we know there's problems.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the little arrow thingy.
Knocking away all the Monokumas that were pinning her. Hey, can you stand? Mondo asked, and begrudgingly offered his hand to Mukuro. Confused, Mukuro took his hand and stood up.
What are you doing, Mondo? I was so close!
One of the Monokumas protested. Not in his normal voice, but as the hacker, Bishiki Marurai.
Oops.
What are you doing, Mondo? I was so close! Oh yeah, you're Bashiki or whatever, right? That's right! Why are you helping a terrorist? I ain't bragging about this or anything. I have no clue if you or this girl is lying. The veins in his temple began to bulge, and his cheeks flushed with anger as Mondo said, But still, I ain't the type to just stand around while some idiot gangs up on a girl. What are you saying? Get a hold of yourself! You must be experiencing Stockholm Syndrome! You've deluded yourself into thinking you're friends with the criminal who's taken you hostage! Monokuma tried to explain to Mondo, but he ignored him, took Mukuro's hand, and pulled her onto the back of the motorcycle. Oh, shut the fuck up! I don't know nothing about Stockholms or syndromes, but don't go acting like you can boss me around! Don't go acting like you can boss me around! As Mondo shouted, he revved the motorcycle as if he was using it to punctuate his words. The ceiling-mounted turrets began moving, but the two disappeared before the turrets could take aim at the motorcycle. As they zoomed through the hallway, countless Monokumas chased after them, waving their claws wildly through the air.
Why?
Asked Mukuro.
Oh.
Huh? Shouted Mondo. His voice was even louder than the sound of the engine. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't trust you at all. He lowered his voice slightly, as if he were whispering to himself. But still, I don't know why I felt like I'd trust what he said.
He?
Inquired Mukuro. But there was no time for questions. The unit leading the Monokumas chasing after the motorcycle had almost caught up to them. And then, like the enormous maw of some fearsome creature, they brandished their claws in perfect unison. At that moment, the motorcycle zoomed by a certain girl. A girl whose fighting ability surpasses that of any normal human. The strongest girl on Earth. With a fighting spirit that defied comprehension, the ultimate martial artist kicked off the floor. A sound even louder than the motorcycle's engine filled the room. When Mukuro looked back, she saw Sakura landing on the floor, sending the pack of Monokumas flying several meters away.
Sakura.
If she heard Mukuro mumble her name, Sakura did not acknowledge it. Like a statue of a fearsome god king, she calmed her breathing as she stood before the pack of Monokumas, ready for battle.
Your pursuit methods seem unbecoming for one who claims to be the ultimate hacker.
An overpowering aura seeped from her skin, and her skin shimmered as an intense heat began to fill the hallway. Unlike the power of Mukuro's sheer violence, this was the power of martial arts. Mukuro froze the air around her, and time along with it. Mukuro froze the air around her, and time along with it. But Sakura was generating enough heat to boil space itself as she stood before the Monokumas. With that heat stinging her back, Mukuro looked ahead. Hifumi and Chihiro were cautiously peeking from behind the door leading to the dorms, while Aoi and Taka kept watch from the inside of the building. After passing them by, Mondo slowed down the motorcycle as he reached the front of the cafeteria, and turned into a complete stop. The other students looked warily at Mukuro. But among these students, Mukuro noticed two people who weren't regarding her with suspicion. One was Kyoko, who seemed to be studying the situation. The other one was a skinny boy who was leaning against Kyoko's shoulder.
Makoto?
Mukuro's lips began to tremble as she sat on the back of the motorcycle. Ignoring the pain coursing through his body, Makoto smiled at Mukuro and repeated what he said to her earlier. I'm glad you're safe, Mukuro. Unfortunately, Mukuro was unable to realize her hope of filling her little sister with despair. Instead, she had successfully planted the seeds of hope into her fellow students. Makoto had barely regained consciousness while Mukuro was fighting the horde of Monokumas at the main entrance. When he woke up, he did something extremely simple. He talked about his memories. Most of the students were still skeptical, even after listening to Mukuro's recorded confession on Chihiro's laptop. Obviously,
They were still not entirely convinced at first when Makoto woke up, but after Sakura asked him a certain question, the ambience changed. The ambience completely changed.
Yeah.
Then beyond the walls of this school, the world is completely destroyed? You're saying there's no one else alive?
Makoto slowly sat up to answer Sakura's meek question.
Just unique to me.
Yeah, okay. I'm not picturing Sakura being meek.
Yeah, me neither.
And I'm almost wondering, like, wait, did we mix up the two again? No, Sakura is the ultimate martial artist.
Yeah. Maybe that's me for.
Don't worry. I'm sure Kenichiro is still safe. I'm sure he'll still keep his promise to you.
Oh.
Sakura gasped. Kenichiro was the only man she couldn't defeat. A man who had promised her a rematch, and made her one other promise as well.
How do you know that name? How do you know about that promise?
Because you told me.
No.
No.
Makoto slowly corrected himself.
And me.
You told all of us.
Sakura was silent after hearing those words. But she then faced the other students and spoke in a loud, clear voice.
I'm going to trust Makoto.
Okay.
Sakura?
Though Aoi was shocked, Sakura continued to speak with determination.
What Makoto just said is something I kept locked away inside my memories. In fact, I was planning to keep that secret until the day I died. But if I shared that secret, that means there was once a strong bond between Makoto, myself, and with my fellow students as well.
Makoto continued to talk in a gentle tone. Though it couldn't have been good for his health, he continued to slowly talk about the memories that the other students no longer had. That one, this
Yeah.
one's probably, Toko.
Yeah, Toko.
Why do you know about this story I'm planning to write? Are you a specialist Nen user who can predict the future?
And now I'm thinking it's Hifumi.
Yeah, me too. Ah! Sorry.
Why do you know about the story I'm planning to write?
Are you a specialist Nen user who can predict the future?
You already finished that story, Hifumi.
It's not our fault. They're both writers.
They are.
And they both stammer.
Though Toko a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more.
You had me help you with inking. What? Wait a sec! How do you know I extract... Oh. Kuzuryu clan.
Who would that be? What?
Wait,
Okay.
this is Danganronpa 2, isn't it?
Is that Byakuya? It cannot be.
Well, Byakuya would definitely not scream like that.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I could see it, but wait.
And now the page order is really messed
Oh
up.
no.
I am so confused.
Goes back. Go back. Go back. Go back. Keep going.
Um,
No. Keep going. Nope.
okay, it's just lost.
What? You know,
I don't know
I'm
what's
looking
going
at the
on.
number. We're going up.
Well, yeah, we are, because I'm moving us back to where we were, but the pages that I'm going back to do not correspond with the pages we just read.
I know.
Oh well.
Alright.
Someone was going to sell Makoto's organs
Yeah.
to the Kuzuryu clan, which,
Kuzuryu
if
clan.
memory serves, is the little gangster.
Really? I thought that was Byakuya's clan.
Byakuya doesn't have a clan; he's got a family.
Well, that's what I meant. Like they're like a. Never mind. Okay.
His wounds were excruciating. But even so, Makoto kept smiling and talking about their lives together, as if it was his duty to do so now that he had regained his memories. As the other students listened to him, they slowly began to realize something. The vivid accounts he was providing couldn't be explained as just passing knowledge. Clearly, some kind of bond between them all had been erased. Only Byakuya remained cynical.
Of course.
There's no way I would have grown closer to any of you. It's like that you're all secretly working together. Though Byakuya was still hostile towards Makoto's recollection of their memories, for the time being, he determined that Makoto wasn't actually a terrorist. Makoto had bought enough time for Makoto to wake up and share his memories with the others. Yes, I don't think he had jumped us ahead. Even if she hadn't intended to do that, it was still a small sliver of hope that she grasped tightly. And now, as she looked at the boy who had smiled at her, Makoto didn't know what to say. She couldn't think of anything to say at all. The battle was over, and Makoto was now back to being a disappointing girl. She turned away from everyone's faces and apologetically climbed off the back of the motorcycle. But Makoto saw her and slowly opened his mouth to say,
Thank you, Makoto. You saved my life.
Makoto gave her words of sincere gratitude between his weak breaths. It's a lot of garden path sentences.
I know.
Makoto couldn't bring herself to look at him as she mumbled to herself.
Why?
Huh?
If Kyoko told you, then you already know what I did, right?
After regaining his memories and learning the truth, Makoto should have been nothing but a hated traitor to him. Why would he smile at someone like her? Makoto kept her head down. Makoto smiled, as if he was unsure how to respond, and said,
Well, I guess you're right. But you also saved my life many times during these past 2 years, and...
Makoto took a deep, quiet breath and smiled at Makoto again.
You're my friend. We all spent time with each other. It would be great if you could look for a different path, not despair. And if there's any way I can help you, I will.
Do you really think I can walk another path at this point?
Absolutely. I don't know what you can do, or even what I can do. But I think it's more important to look for that path. Instead of actually finding it.
Was this intentional or coincidence? Just before he regained his memories, Makoto had said something similar to Makoto when she spoke to him in the nurse's office as Junko. Regardless of whether he lost his memories or regained them, those words revealed Makoto's true character. As Makoto confirmed that to herself, Makoto blurted out something that was almost too trusting.
And it's not just you. Even Junko can...
But he was immediately interrupted. Monokuma's face appeared on every monitor in the academy, and his laughter seemed to be coming out of every speaker.
I could have kept pretending to be that ultimate hacker, but it's boring to impersonate someone who doesn't even exist. If this keeps up, I'll lose my identity and turn into Konokuma!
Kyoko looked up at a surveillance camera and addressed Monokuma directly.
You seem to be giving up pretty easily.
There isn't a bear anywhere that gives up as easily as I do. Regardless, I'm pretty sure Chihiro has figured out the secret of my control program by now.
Oh, so
Unfortunately, line lost.
whoa.
Well, I'm trying to go back to see if we can... Whatever. It's lost. I'm sure that was Chihiro saying it.
Maybe, or could have been Kyoko.
Maybe. Regardless, the line is lost, so...
Yeah.
Unless you took a picture of it. Kyoko realized something when Mukuro told her about Junko. There were two reasons such a hateful person would intentionally leave an obvious clue inside the Monokuma units. Either Junko wanted the students to learn the truth about the outside world and themselves on their own, and turn their hopes into despair, or she was looking forward to that clue resulting in her own plan being undone, which would allow her to feel despair toward herself. She was an angel of everlasting darkness, delighting in her own despair, and using it to spread despair and destruction to those around her. Why would someone like that continue to play the role of Monokuma?
Actually, I set that program for Chihiro to discover if she happened to be one of the final 5 survivors. I feel so sad and empty that my preparation was a waste, but I'm going to think about it positively. The word retreat doesn't exist in Monokuma's dictionary.
Nervousness began to grip the students as Monokuma continued talking in his relaxing, uplifting voice.
Now then, it looks like everyone's here, including Toko, who's still tied up in her room. So, let's start the heart-throbbing, exciting, special graduation exam! Huh?
The students broke out in noisy confusion, but Monokuma ignored them and kept talking.
Don't think about it too hard. Relax, relax. Change relax to Oopert for all I care. I'll still be the most adorable bear here.
Byakuya, visibly annoyed with Monokuma's nonsensical ramblings, shouted, "I already know it's you, Junko. Stop this stupid game and show yourself."
Oh my, don't you know? If you want to lure the mastermind out of her heavenly hidey hole, you need to bring a worthy sacrifice. You're not worthy enough at all.
Don't say that to him.
Do you really think the mastermind would show herself for your pathetic hope and despair?
He roared manically, then began to explain the special graduation exam.
If you pass my exam, everyone will graduate. But if you fail, you'll be held back for a whole year. I'll reset your memories, give you a fresh new lease on life, and you'll reintroduce yourselves at the start of the school year again. They say people's lives don't come with reset buttons, but I'm not people. But I'm not a people. Whether it's soft resets or hard resets, I can do as I please.
Yasuhiro seemed confused, so it was business as usual. But the other students knew what Monokuma meant by reset. He was going to force them to relive their school lives once again. As Yasuhiro struggled to understand, Taka pointed at a nearby monitor and shouted, "Stop this already! No matter what you do to us, we'll never commit murder! These past few days should have already made that clear to you!"
What was that?
Jumped Monokuma.
Are you serious?
Of course! No one here would ever take another human being's life for any reason!
As Taka shouted, one of the students, a pale-faced girl standing apart from the others, looked away. It was Sayaka. As she trembled, a voice popped up from behind her.
What do you think, Sayaka?
She couldn't even turn around from sheer terror, but Sayaka knew. She knew Monokuma was standing right behind her.
Do you really think none of you will become a killer?
Monokuma leaned toward Sayaka and asked her a question only she could hear.
By the way, Sayaka, why did you go to Makoto's room when nothing strange had happened yet? Did you two have an inappropriate relationship? What would your fans think if they found out you made a move on a boy by sneaking into his room? Or were you there for some other reason?
She could barely make a sound, much less scream, as her trembling worsened. Monokuma had nothing to gain by cornering Sayaka and toying with her emotions like this. He simply wanted to see the young singer fall into despair over her true character. And for that reason, Monokuma did not relent.
Hey! What were you trying to do to your close friend you've known for the past 2 years?
Her determination from last night blended with the memories Makoto had recounted, and ate away at Sayaka's mind like a disease. As her mind began to rip itself apart, she fell to her knees. A clear ball, flying at just under 105 miles per hour, struck Monokuma in the mouth with enough force to sink into his face. The speaker in Monokuma's mouth was immediately destroyed as his body rolled into a wall and stopped moving.
Clear ball? Was that Yasuhiro?
Baseball player.
Oh.
Possibly Yasuhiro's crystal ball. Since
Yeah, that's what I was
clear
thinking
ball.
too.
But
The clear ball.
probably pitched from
We'll find out.
the ultimate baseball player. I can't remember his name. Sayaka came to her senses and looked where the ball came flying from. There it is.
Yep.
She saw Leon, breathing heavily as he stared intensely at Monokuma. Yasuhiro grabbed him and yelled, "Ah! Dude! Why did you do that, Leon?"
So you're right, it's like a comedy. He took the guy's crystal ball.
That crystal ball is really valuable! Leon had stolen Yasuhiro's crystal ball and thrown it at Monokuma. We heard so little of him. That Monokuma bastard was trying to take Sayaka hostage! What was I supposed to do? Dude, that crystal ball cost me $2 trillion! $2 trillion! They don't even print that much money anymore! Oh, bullshit! Besides, if the world is all screwed up, what the hell are you gonna need money for anyway? But if it's safe out there, I'll just join the major leagues or whatever and pay you back. Well, I could pay you back doing something else besides baseball.
And what would that be?
As those two argued, Sayaka fell to her knees.
A second time, apparently.
Just her second set of knees, located above her first.
She already did it once, so like she...
Hey! Shouted Leon, running toward her. Sayaka! He's just all over the place. Sayaka, are you okay? She looked at him and stared blankly.
Leon.
She had made up her mind, and she raised her head as she said, clearly having made up her mind.
Apparently.
There's something I need to confess to you later.
What? Seriously?
It's not what you think, bro.
Sayaka was staring at Leon so intensely that he briefly forgot about this current situation.
Not just to you, but to Makoto and the others too.
I guess I'm open to an open relationship. Sayaka had made up her mind to confess the sin that was weighing heavily on her heart, but Leon seemed not to hear the latter half of her remark. He ran back to the others, slapped Hifumi and Yasuhiro on their backs, and shouted, "Alright everyone, let's ace this exam or whatever and get out of here already!
I got a date, apparently.
There's no way I'm gonna let my happy memories of this place get taken away!" The Monokuma inside the monitor responded,
Fine, fine. Now that things are finally coming to a boil, let's start the graduation exam.
Sakura, who had been outside the dormitory, suddenly appeared with some information.
The Monokumas in the hallway are acting peculiar.
The students all moved to the main building to see what Sakura was talking about. Are they eating each other? Are they forming Voltron? Are they forming Voltron by eating each other?
Ugh. Monokuma centipede.
There they saw 50 Monokumas standing in 2 rows along the walls of the hallway, and one standing at the very end of the hall. There was something strange on top of this Monokuma's head. An enlarged version of the escape button that Makoto had obtained from the Mono machine. As each student took in this sight, an announcement rang throughout the school.
The me at the end of the hall has a button on top of his head that will open the main entrance. You'll have 15 seconds to get that button, and if you do, I'll let you have it in place of a diploma.
Go, Sayaka! I mean, it's Sakura.
Yes, Sayaka saved the day. The students seemed surprised by the straightforward explanation. Only Celeste remained calm, and she asked Monokuma with a bored look on her face.
Of course, it's not as simple as running up and taking it, is it?
How mean. Do I look like the kind of headmaster that would interfere with his students' graduation?
Oh, yes.
Forget the gunfire salutes. I'm gonna send my graduates off with some fireworks. 100 fireworks to be exact. Enough for 20 seconds of hardcore partying!
The more perceptive students immediately realized what he was talking about. The bombs installed inside each Monokuma. They would explode one after the other, filling the hallway with fire as soon as time started.
After 15 seconds, the me standing at the back of the hall is gonna sacrifice himself to give you guys one final firework. By the way, this probably isn't important, but that button isn't very durable.
This graduation exam was Monokuma's way of saying that he had no intention of letting anyone leave. It was clear from the explosion the students saw during the entrance exam that the halls of Hope's Peak Academy would be bathed in fire. So much for repeating a year. Even if someone was lucky enough to survive the explosions, the burns on their body alone would be enough to send them into a fatal shock. Their lungs might be completely incinerated by the scorched air before that. Even if they sacrificed one student to run through, the odds were low that they would even succeed. But there was no reason for every student to run in at once either, and a shadow of despair fell upon their faces. I'm going to assume Monokuma.
Nice! Very nice! I almost want to take a picture so I have those faces as a souvenir.
As Monokuma laughed from behind the monitor, Sakura stepped forward.
I'll do it. I've only seen the explosion once, but I believe I'm capable of withstanding its power.
No, you can't!
Shouted Aoi.
You couldn't handle 100 of those explosions!
Sakura shook her head.
I'm the only one who even has a chance.
Suddenly, Mondo remembered the motorcycle he parked inside the dormitory and said, "Hold up. That motorcycle might be fast enough to go through those explosions. I'll do it,"
Don't be hasty.
urged Sakura.
Even if the motorcycle is unharmed by the explosions, that doesn't mean its rider will be.
But he's probably at least as fast as you.
It's also got gasoline in it. I'm assuming.
Yeah, but you gotta breach that. Not saying it can't happen. Especially since explosions, there's gonna be Monokuma shrapnel, and they've got heart bits. Possibly, yeah. But either way, if the Monokumas are lined up at the back of the race course and the target is at the end, then whatever is fastest will do it.
Yeah, it's true. They just have to stay ahead of the explosions.
Yep. Don't have to be the fastest, you just have to be faster than the slowest. As Sakura and others continued their debate, one person stepped forward toward the hallway lined with Monokumas. It was Mukuro, for some reason. Probably because she's the protagonist.
Yep. Also, she probably feels pretty bad for getting them in this, I think.
Yeah.
Or, you know, she's just... It's clearly maybe an invitation from her sister, you know, to go mano kind of thing.
And she can finally deliver the despair she wants.
Yeah! I'll do it.
Mukuro! Screamed Makoto weakly. Makuro. Ship it!
What's a Mac... Oh yeah, that's a great shipping name!
It knows. It knows! Mukuro, with her back facing Makoto, turned her head to the side slightly and gave him a small nod. She knew it would come to this. She knew why Monokuma would pose such an impossible exam. It's Mukuro's thoughts.
Okay. Junko is already looking forward to the next despair game. She's going to erase everyone's memories, including mine.
A little more than that.
She just wants to torment us and fill us with despair before that happens.
But Mukuro knew her sister's personality all too well, and that's why she was confident. Oh, she's thinking that maybe the explosions aren't as bad because she did say she wanted to do this again.
Yeah.
It's not very despairful if everyone dies by her hand.
Yeah.
She knew that the escape button was real. Whenever Junko brought despair to others, she always made sure there was a possibility that despair would befall her instead. If the students won this gamble and made it through this horrible situation, they would finally escape to the outside world. That outcome would obviously fill Junko with immense despair. In the same way she left a clue in Monokuma's control program, Junko could not be satisfied unless she took pains to assure her own destruction. It was this quality that made Junko the ultimate despair. That's why Mukuro was determined to do it. She knew she was the only person who stood a chance of making that outcome possible, even if she had to risk her life. But right now, Mukuro wanted to live more than anything. She wanted to hold on to this world, a world she had no interest in previously. She didn't even know if this hesitation she felt was disappointing or not. But she wanted to live and continue searching for a new path. A path where she could abandon her submission to despair, where she could accept the sins of the past and continue to live. Mukuro, who was known as a war machine, found her heart beset by overwhelming fear and anxiety. Until now, it had never occurred to her that determination was necessary to live. As if she was brushing that fear aside, she quietly said,
Thank you, Makoto.
Unfortunately, the words she said to the boy who showed her new possibilities never reached his ears. Sakura, however, heard her, and frowned as she said,
If you're planning to sacrifice yourself as an act of penance, I'll stop you with all of my power.
Though her words were firm, there was unmistakable affection hiding in them. Both girls had dedicated their lives to battle, and yet Mukuro felt a twinge of jealousy toward Sakura for possessing something she lacked. Mukuro leaned towards Sakura and whispered in her ear. I think this is Mukuro.
No, I think that's Sakura responding.
I think,
think-
yeah, you're right.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
What? Are you serious?
As Sakura's frown intensified, Monokuma's voice blared throughout the halls.
All right, I'm gonna start the exam now. Ready, set, go!
There was no time for questions or objections. The frontmost Monokuma exploded, sending a roaring wave of heat through the hall. But Mukuro didn't look away. She began moving, powered by resolute determination. As soon as the graduation exam started, the mastermind focused her control entirely on the Monokuma holding the escape button, and completely synchronized her field of vision with it. She knew what was going to happen next. She could predict what her sister, Mukuro, would do in this exact situation, where she would choose to focus her superhuman skill with weaponry. And so, through Monokuma's eyes, she watched the scene unfold exactly as she had predicted. A pointed metal bar burst through the explosions, heading straight for the weak point of the Monokuma holding the escape button. Specifically, it was aiming for the point where the bomb's detonation system and Monokuma's power source overlapped. It flew straight and true, as if it had been fired by a master archer. In order to bring despair to Monokuma, and by extension Junko as well, the super soldier known as Mukuro Ikusaba threw the pipe like a spear so it could attack the same weak point she had pierced in the nurse's office. As explosions filled the hallway until only fire remained visible, the spear's speed and precision as it soared to its target defied all human logic. But the mastermind knew. She knew Mukuro had used her power to fill the world with despair. Power was all that disappointing girl had. But that power was useless against Monokuma. The mastermind had predicted that Mukuro would put all her effort into that throw, and Monokuma caught the metal bar perfectly between his hands. The force of the throw knocked Monokuma back several yards, but the pointed end of the bar never pierced through his chest. Junko, I think.
Well, that was disappointing.
The mastermind turned to look at a different monitor. She wanted to see the look on Mukuro's face when she realized that she failed to strike Monokuma. The despair of seeing the final Monokuma explode right before her eyes, completely obliterating the escape button. She wanted to sear this memory of her disappointing sister's final moments as her newfound hope sank into a dark pit of despair. On instinct, she turned her attention to the surveillance camera that hadn't been destroyed. But instead of seeing Mukuro and the others, she only saw Sakura, who looked as though she had finished launching an attack. She only thought it was strange for 1 second, but then the hopelessly powerful mastermind completely understood the situation and shifted her point of view to Monokuma. But because of that single second, Junko would feel just a pang of despair. 3 seconds left. Amid the smoke, flames and heat encircling the hallway, it burst through with the speed of a cannon shell. It glared at Monokuma with hot, boiling eyes that betrayed the icy expression on its face, and then, sharply, swiftly, strongly, it transformed into a living weapon that cuts through everything, revealing its true form in that hall of despair. Toko?
I think Sakura threw Mukuro.
Someone got fastball special.
Yeah. Somebody got tossed like a dwarf.
2 seconds left. Monokuma, who was still holding the metal bar in his hands, tried to move, but at that exact moment, the living weapon carved a path through the flames and appeared before him. Yeah, narratively and from that description, should be Mukuro. Its body, which had never been wounded on any battlefield, was sustaining all manner of burns and injuries. But even so, it did not falter. The fire in its eyes never flickered once. 1 second left. The living weapon, Mukuro, slammed her knee into the back of the metal bar Monokuma was holding. The sharp tip of that metal bar pierced through the Monokuma like a rail spike, shredding the detonator and his power source into pieces. Time's up. The 100 explosions ceased, and smoke blanketed the hallway. Mukuro had dived into Monokuma, and the pristine escape button now rested in her hand. She and the other students of Hope's Peak Academy had passed the graduation exam. It was only a small amount of despair. Monokuma had tasted it in only 3 seconds.
Juka.
Mukuro looked down at Monokuma. He could no longer move or self-destruct. When she spoke to him, a static-filled voice emitted from his mouth. It seemed his communication function still worked.
How do you emulate static?
I never expected you to do that!
Like that?
Yes.
He still sounded like Monokuma. It seems his voice modulator was unharmed as well. Which is it? Oh, the modulator is fine. It's the communication that's broken.
I just left to estimate you. I never thought you didn't get ready to help on Alfie.
Mukuro.
Yep. When I give the signal, please launch me forward with a roundhouse kick.
Mukuro whispered these words to Sakura just before the explosion started. After Mukuro threw the metal bar, she jumped into the air at the exact moment Sakura unleashed a roundhouse kick. Right when Sakura's foot made contact with her own, Mukuro used the force generated by her kick to propel herself at Monokuma, and also broke her legs into 3 pieces.
No kidding.
Using the ultimate martial artist's superhuman attack like a springboard, she shot herself through the air like an artillery shell. Enduring intense heat, shrapnel, and blood-draining G-force, she stayed conscious as she charged through the hallway, engulfed with explosions and despair. Mukuro trusted Junko. She trusted Junko to predict that she'd throw the metal bar and catch it accordingly. Then she tried to look at her face as the despair sets in. The Junko Enoshima she knew would definitely do that. Although Mukuro hadn't predicted that her sister would try to kill her with the spears of Gungnir, she had a better understanding of her actions now. As Mukuro stared Monokuma in his face, all he could do was laugh scornfully.
You risk your life in someone else's hands for a deadly dog? I don't know how I feel about that. You'll always be a high disappointment. Okay, that's cool. I just really laughed because I didn't see this much possible coming. Yeah.
Mukuro shook her head at Monokuma.
No. You're wrong, Junko.
Huh?
If you want to talk about winning or losing, I think we lost. Before we even started.
Mukuro's eyes shifted from side to side, as if she was unsure of something, and she fidgeted in place as she continued to talk.
No matter how much despair they felt, you didn't think they'd kill each other the way they were before. That's why you erased their memories. They aren't like the ones you forced in the past. You knew these students would never do it. That's what you believed, isn't it?
What are you talking about?
So, it's okay, Junko. I'll bring back everyone's memories someday, and I'll show you everyone's happiness and their bonds. I'll show all that to you and fill you with even more despair.
Mukuro nodded after she said this, as if to cheer her sister up. After several seconds of silence, Monokuma responded.
If fans would be this one kind, and that one speech is the best you can do.
After pouting like a sore loser, Monokuma continued to speak in his usual tone.
Can't understand.
Monokuma's laughter filled the room before the static finally cut out, and his remains fell silent. He wouldn't be talking again anytime soon. The mastermind was already preparing a new despair to bring to the world, and to the students of Hope's Peak Academy, Junko included. In the end, the mastermind stayed in her Monokuma persona until the very end, and Junko Enoshima never showed her face again. It was as if she had resented the despair Mukuro had given her. That thought almost filled Mukuro with despair. But when she heard her classmates calling for her, she sealed that despair into the depths of her heart. From now on, she would seal away all her despair. And one day, when she can give Junko the perfect despair, she'll unleash all the despair she's stored and plunge with her sister into a dark abyss.
I won't leave my little sister alone.
In the end, that was the first hope the disappointing older sister had felt since she was a child. Several hours later, main entrance.
Hey, Junko, you're back! Or Mukuro, maybe we should put the wig back on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was like looking through for Mukuro. I didn't spot Junko initially.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the thing.
That or they're just too lazy to change it.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
Mukuro, are you really going to go out wearing that wig?
After receiving a blood transfusion of the correct blood type, Makoto was beginning to show signs of recovery. Mukuro, holding her wig to disguise herself as Junko Enoshima, nodded.
If I live as Junko, I might be able to understand her better.
Despite that, Mukuro's voice still sounded like her own, as if she hadn't fully decided.
Could I make the right call? And I've made up my mind. While I'm out there, I've decided I'll accept everyone's hatred toward me, and toward Junko. I can't die until I've destroyed all the despair that Junko has spread.
The damage that ultimate despair inflicted upon the world could not be measured in terms of money, culture, or even human life. Television broadcasts had already begun informing people that Junko Enoshima and Mukuro Ikusaba were the heart of ultimate despair. Among the survivors in the outside world, there are still people who hadn't been tainted by despair yet. Regardless of the fact that she released Makoto and the others, to these survivors she was nothing more than the reason the world ended. And to the terrorists wearing Monokuma masks, who continue to ravage the world, Mukuro was nothing but a traitor. She was now in the hopeless situation of being enemies with most of humanity. But Mukuro wasn't making a big deal out of it.
I'm going to try not to kill anyone who comes after me for revenge.
Wouldn't it be safer to just turn yourself in?
Wondered Yasuhiro.
Well, you might just get executed instead. But you could live to be an old lady if your trial keeps getting pushed back.
Mukuro slowly shook her head at Yasuhiro.
Laws. Justice. These things no longer exist.
Is it really that bad out there? Maybe we should just stay in here.
Byakuya glared at Yasuhiro with contempt. Ignorant idiots should just shut up. Your fate won't change whether you stay in here or not. Though he was shocked to learn the Togami Corporation had been destroyed, Byakuya continued to remain firm and proud, even toward Mukuro. You are a rare asset, continued Byakuya. So I will let you live for now. Depending on your actions, I may consider forgiving your crimes after I've built a new world.
Oh, good grief.
Only a Togami would boast that they're capable of forgiving the crime of ending the world.
You don't need to do that. I don't plan on just surviving.
After turning away from Byakuya, Mukuro looked at the other students. Everyone was reacting in their own way. Kyoko had a look of quiet preparation. Toko, having just changed back from Genocide Jack, was panicked and confused. Mukuro looked back on the 2 years she spent with them, then turned to Makoto, who shared the same memories as her, and gave him the escape button.
Makoto, you press it.
Huh? Me?
I think it's better if you press it instead of me.
As she watched Makoto accept the button with some hesitation, Mukuro thought about what Monokuma had said. Mukuro knew that Monokuma was telling the truth. After all, the file the students needed to fully restore their lost memories remained hidden in the academy. The research notes of Yasuke Matsuda, the ultimate neurologist. His research is the key to restoring everyone's memories. Even if the students no longer have their memories, they may be able to repair the bonds they had built among themselves over the past 2 years. But as long as their memories remain unrestored, the mastermind could still repeat her deadly plan. Although the island mentioned earlier sounded strange, the students could not turn their backs on the despair facing them.
Then, let's go!
Makoto remembered everything that was happening in the outside world. The boy who had chosen to remain inside the academy 2 years ago was now choosing to leave. How much did he struggle to come to that decision? But he was determined to face the despair awaiting him outside, and hid his internal conflict from the others. By protecting Makoto's hope, Mukuro would bring despair to her beloved sister. But she no longer knew if the end result of her goal would lead to hope or despair. She pulled the wig over her head and hid her face with her hands. Was she smiling because hope was waiting for her? Or was she crying because her path would lead to despair? When she lowered her hands, her face was devoid of all emotion. Mukuro no longer knew what expression she would wear on her face. At the same time, Makoto pressed the escape button. A siren began to wail as the turrets retracted into the ceiling. From beyond the heavy door, a bright light appeared. An infinite number of ifs, and all the possibilities contained therein, encased the world. Accepting everything, hope, despair, and even the feelings of that disappointing girl, Mukuro Ikusaba. And that's it.
Cool.
Ugh. So it's a very different experience when you don't have the voice prompts helping you.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you just give up on Byakuya. I'm just trying to collect thoughts to express them, but I don't want to keep dead air for too long. So, I mean, overall, I prefer the game format to the novel format. This is just sort of a throwaway what-if scenario that gives us more insight into Junko's sister, so...
Yeah. Like what was going on between them. Also, I guess, I mean, I feel like I may have gotten a nice peek at the inner workings of Junko. Because, I mean, we saw her when we fought her and stuff like that, but you really kind of get to know just how far and twisted her delusions are. Have the circular logic going on.
But despite some areas where it kind of went a little plodding, I think overall it's a good story to have. And now we can completely disregard it because it's not canon.
Nope. What a waste.
Alright, well, we still have plenty of time left, so I am going to be switching things over to another game. Hold on for that. See you in a couple of minutes.
Okay.